This season, we have showcased the many faces of crime in Jamaica. Crime is perhaps our most popular topic of discussion in bars, verandas, barbershops, and churches across this country.
We all know that no matter where we live, who we are, and how we look, none of us is completely safe. It threatens all of us, and the only way to halt crime is together.
Our final show of CS311 this season, Crime Does Not Discriminate. Stay with us.
Crime Stop Jamaica and National Bakery, in association with TVJ and our sponsors, ICD Group, Grace Kennedy, Home and Things, Progressive Grocers and Guardsman, present CS311 with Deirdre Dixon and Leroy Hall.
Women and girls continue to be hard hit by the growing violence in the country. Some suffered at the hands of perfect strangers, but often by their nearest and dearest loved ones.
Earlier in the season, we spoke to retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, Novlet Grant, on the plight of female domestic abuse victims. Tonight, we bring you part 2 of our interview.
Let us quickly remind ourselves of what domestic violence is. It includes physical and sexual violence, as well as non-physical, emotional and psychological abuse. There is in fact a link that we can see between community violence and domestic violence. In Jamaica, in my career, I've had a number of instances where community violence pushed itself all the way back to family and intimate partner violence. I've recently been speaking with persons in restorative justice, and they have also said that many of the instances that they have to intervene with persons with matters before the court, they find that it's linked back to domestic violence issues, that if you can't deal with the domestic violence issues, the matter before the court really goes nowhere. Murders, feuds, and so on. There was an interesting case that I had where a particular parish, a community that was very quiet, ended up with gangs and gun murders and so on. And when we traced it back, it was because of inappropriate sexual behavior between children, 15-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl. And that spiraled into broad-based community violence. And the incident had happened from as far back as 2000, and up to 2014, it was still causing problems. And of course, outside of these anecdotal knowledge that I have, research has been showing that domestic violence can be linked to community violence because of the exposure that people have in their formative years to aggression. So male-to-male violence and intimate partner violence, which is male to female in general, share some of the same risk factors, right? Growing up in a violent home, substance abuse, social isolation, and the gender dispositions for aggressive behavior because of how we rear our children and the kind of things that we say to them about how boys ought to be. Boys should be tough, boys shouldn't cry, it's not manly. And we basically, in many instances, raise girls to be submissive even though we may not be aware of it. So we set up a situation that leads to the continuation of violence between persons in the home and in the community.
Even before they reach womanhood, Jamaican girls are regularly targeted, abused, even killed. In our first featured crime this evening, we remember the tragedy of Yetania Francis and the headlines that rocked the country.
Thursday, August 23, 2018. 14-year-old Yetania Francis left home at about 8 p.m. on that fateful night to buy food at a nearby cook shop. When she didn't return home in a timely fashion, an alarm was raised. Family and friends immediately started to search for her, but Yetania wasn't found until 11:30 a.m. the following day. The nude and partially burnt body of young Netanya Francis was discovered on the compound of the multipurpose training complex at 85 West Road, Kingston 12.
Sadly, Yetania is not the only young girl to have suffered this cruel fate in her own community, where she felt the safest. We must demand justice for our girls, our innocent daughters, and for Yetania Francis.
A reward totaling $600,000 has been offered through Crime Stop Jamaica to anyone who can lead the police to the identity, location, and arrest and charge of her killer or killers. The men we are about to show you are also wanted, but for other crimes. If you know anything, please make that call.
"35-year-old construction worker Alvin Messam, otherwise called Kevin, of McGregor Lane, Spanish Town, is wanted for questioning in connection to the murder of Clarence Clark, a 44-year-old taxi operator of Freetown, Clarendon, who was killed on Whitewater Boulevard, Spanish Town, on Saturday, April 28, 2018, at about 9 p.m. Brian QQ Forbes, a 50-year-old farmer of Drumilly District, Claremont, is wanted for questioning in connection to the double murder of Demar Smith and Amoya Brown, committed on Saturday, April 25, 2015, at about 4:45 p.m. in Drumilly District. Both victims died of multiple chop wounds. Do you know the whereabouts of Brian QQ Forbes?
Remember, crime does not discriminate. More on CS311 after this break.
We are wrapping up our season of CS311 tonight, but make no mistake, we will never surrender to the criminals. Coming up, we focus on crime and our children, but first, watch that scam.
Ms. Palmer, you see, I wanted to speak to you, about something that I've been recently noticing been going on around the office.
What is that now, sir?
Well, you see, when you first started working here, you used to wear these nice little short mini skirts. Now all of a sudden, all you keep on wearing is pants. I don't get it.
Sir, with all due respect, with me wearing pants don't prevent me from doing my job?
Well, it might not prevent you from doing your job, but you see, I like to create an environment, that is cohesive.
What are you talking about?
Miss Palmer, I like to create an atmosphere that is conducive to everybody working inside here.
But sir, it's just you and I work here.
My point exactly. So you see, there's no reason for you to be walking around in pants.
Well, with all due respect, sir, I will wear pants if I want to wear pants. I'm not going to wear any skirt.
You love your job, right?
Of course I do.
And you want to keep your job, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I am the boss. And if I say that you should wear short skirts, then it's short skirts you must wear.
Okay, sir.
I know you would see things my way.
But sir, I cannot wear skirt while in my current situation right now.
Situation? What kind of situation you're talking about?
I'm pregnant.
You know that I've been wondering why you've been taking so long with your lunch, or why you eat. I thought you was just eating enough. My goodness, man. What is the clients going to say? Hey? I love to see when the ladies walking and the rear say 9:15, 4:30. 9:15, 4:30.
You know what? I quit.
You still have it though. 9:15, 4:30. Good move, Miss Palmer. Sexual harassment must never be tolerated. In our society today, it is everywhere. In the workplace, at schools, and even on the streets. Men, leave our women alone Let them exist in peace, no man.
Our children are powerless victims of our violent culture, directly and as witnesses. Children's advocate Diane Gordon Harris opened our eyes to child abuse in some communities where it is widespread and accepted. We speak with her now.
I do think that there's evidence to suggest that some of our communities do in fact either turn a blind eye or condone sexual abuse and in fact violations of children of all sorts. The difficulty that we have in Jamaica is that in some aspects of our culture we normalize sex, and so we see a violation that's of a sexual nature as being just a little sex. St. Thomas, for example, comes to mind, whereby we have seen lots of cases of actual alleged instances of incest, sex with a minor, rape, and the full gambit of the sexual offenses. But in terms of matters that actually come to fruition for actual prosecution, those numbers remain low. We see as well that in terms of the formal reports of allegations, when you look at the numbers coming out of St. Thomas and you compare them to the rest of the island, they're particularly low. For me, that's a culture of silence, and it's also a culture of accepting sexual violations as being the norm in a child's development. So there is a helpline, if you will, not a 24-hour one, but one that certainly accepts reports in relation to any kind of allegation of child abuse. It can be slight, it can be severe, it can be actually happening, or it can be something in the past that has ended, or it can be something preemptive. So you suspect that based on the circumstances in which a child finds himself or herself, there is a likelihood that there could be a violation in the future. And that number is 1-888-PROTECT. It's the number for the National Children's Registry, which really serves as the collecting repository, if you will, for all reports. That's all they do. They don't investigate. They simply get the information, log it, and then pass it on to the relevant agencies for investigation. At the Office of the Children's Advocate as well, we have an intake desk where we accept complaints via walk-ins, telephone, email, or different social media handles, and really seek to see what are the best solutions we can bring to the table for the child who is an issue.
The product of today's abuse will be felt for generations to come. But what is the future of a country where even babies in arms are not spared from criminals? The victim of our next featured crime was only 5 weeks of age.
Sometime just after 5 p.m. on Sunday, October 13, 2019, Aaliyah Ray was accosted while walking along Russell Road in Kingston. She was dragged, along with her 1-month-old baby Nair, into a grey red plate vehicle, which sped away with them. There was a tussle in the car, and baby Nair was wrested from her grip, and she was pushed from the moving vehicle. The kidnapped baby has not been seen since.
Who took Nair? The $250,000 reward that is offered by King Alarm Systems through Crime Stop Jamaica should not be your motive to speak. Something like this should never be kept silent. Follow your conscience to that phone. Call Crime Stop now at 311.
From murder to rape to abduction, we move on to missing, another daily event in Jamaica. This case may not involve a crime, but please pay attention and tell us what you know.
Missing, brought to you by Progressive Grocers. Fiju Matthew, 53 years old, Dean of the Faculty of Science at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, CASE, at Paisley Gardens, Portland, has been missing since Friday, October 4, 2019. He is of Indian descent, brown complexion, 170 centimeters or 5 feet 7 inches tall, and speaks with an Indian accent. Fiju Matthew's white Honda CR-V was found parked at the St. Margaret's Bay Bridge in Portland.
A $200,000 reward is being offered through Crime Stop Jamaica to anyone who can reveal the location of Fiju Matthew.
Sasha K. Fairclough studied law to pursue justice. But like many law-abiding citizens in Jamaica, her ambitions were of no importance to her attackers. This is our final featured crime for this evening.
At about 5:30 p.m. on Friday, September 13, 2019, along the Brook Green Road in Ocho Rios, Mrs. Miriam Brown-Hewan was driving home, accompanied by her daughter, Sasha K. Fairclough, when, on a section of bad road, a car approached. Neighbors alerted the police to the gunshots, who arrived to find Mrs. Brown-Hewan clutching her chest, and Sasha K. slumped on the ground beside the car. Both were rushed to the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, where Miss Fairclough died while undergoing treatment.
Speak out in defense of Sasha K. Fairclough, as she cannot defend herself. Help capture her murderers. Crime Stop is offering a reward totaling $200,000 for the arrest and charge of those responsible. The number to call is 311. More on CS311 after this break.
You know, even as we remember another year of painful endings like these, we look forward to the holidays. Everybody welcomes Christmas, especially the criminal-minded.
So even as we celebrate, hit the streets and roam the shops, we must remain alert. Add these safety tips to your list.
Safety Tips, sponsored by Guardsman.
The holiday seasons are here again. You know, it looked like only yesterday we were in the Christmas excitement. Well, we're back in it. And we all need to ensure that we keep ourselves safe during the period. Our families, our properties, everything safe for the holidays. One of the cardinal rules that we must always remember is when going into public spaces, particularly shopping malls, shopping centers, and going out in crowds, never make yourself an attractive target by wearing all the expensive jewelry and the designer bags and so on. Keep yourself simple, blend into the crowd, be a simple part of the crowd. If you have to carry money, minimize the amount of cash that you carry. Don't carry a wallet, don't carry a purse. Keep the money in your front pockets. Never put them in your back pockets, because the pickpockets are going to be out in their numbers. When you're making large transactions, try and do it by either credit cards or debit cards. Avoid the cash. As you are moving through and doing your shopping and in the rush of the plazas, minimize how many packages you are carrying on your person at any given time. But at the same time, you need to be cautious that you are not making very attractive purchases and then going to your car to put them in there and leaving the car unattended. So prioritize your less attractive purchases first, and your last purchases should be the ones that would attract attention. And as soon as you leave that mall with those packages, try and get them out the car and away from the car, because you may be followed to your next mall or shopping area. The other thing that we need to also be careful of is that many of us go and visit families, whether in the rural areas of Jamaica or other towns in the island, or we go overseas for the holidays. Keep that information confidential. Don't post it on your Facebook page, don't post it on your Instagram or whatever page it is that you are on in social media, because that is the information that the criminal element is looking for. Also, never say how long you're going to be away from your property. When you do go away, you need to inform your neighbor, a trusted neighbor, that you can say, listen, I'm going to be away for a few days, or I'm going to be away for the day. Please give an eye. If there's anything, here is how I can be contacted. You know, a good neighbor is better than a good watchdog. The other thing that we need to be very careful of is how we decorate our houses. Many of us put up Christmas lights and really make the place nice and attractive to get us into that festive mood. Before we string lights, always inspect them properly. Where there are broken bulbs, replace them. Where there are torn, broken wires or shredded wires, discard that string and get a new string. Electrical fires are sometimes the most disastrous of things that can happen in the holiday period. And we wish you a very merry one when it comes, but more importantly, a safe one.
Crime does not discriminate. We all pay the price. Vulnerable girls and women, innocent children, businessmen and farmers, the elderly, the unemployed. even the lost young men helplessly lured into a life of crime.
Yetania Francis, Nair Frank, Fiju Matthews, and Sasha K. Fairclough could be any of us and represent all of us. Crime Stop is waiting for your calls. Someone out there can help us to close these cases. Thank you for opening your homes to us. I am Leroy Hall.
And I am Deidre Dixon. Don't hide it, tell it. Together we can make a change.
Good evening. I am Sandra Glasgow, Chairperson of the National Crime Prevention Fund, better known to everyone as Crime Stop Jamaica. Today marks the concluding episode of our very successful television series, CS311. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I thank all those involved in the development and production of this latest series. We especially thank our sponsors who have made this production possible: the ICD Group, Grace Kennedy, Guardsman Group, Home and Things, Progressive Grocers, and National Baking Company. We also thank TVJ for their continued support as our broadcast partner. 30 years ago, Crime Stop Jamaica was envisioned and launched by the private sector organization of Jamaica in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Media Association of Jamaica. Over these many years, Crime Stop Jamaica has been instrumental in several and significant successes in the fight against crime. We all agree that crime and violence retard Jamaica's economic growth and social stability, and that it is the duty of the government and the police to address the problem. But police investigations require a constant flow of reliable and quality information, and it is therefore critical that every Jamaican plays his or her part in reporting criminal activity in an effort to keep the citizens and our communities and our visitors to the island safe. In its 30 years of operation, no one has ever been compromised by calling Crime Stop Jamaica. Every Jamaican wants to feel safe, to live, work and do business in our beloved island. But this will only be achieved if each of us is unrelenting in our quest to expose those who commit crimes of all sorts. Remember, crime is everybody's business. And as we always say at Crime Stop, don't hide it, tell it. Solving crime pays. Thank you for watching and for your continued support of Crime Stop Jamaica.